Today's video is going to teach you how to divide whole numbers by decimals and how to divide decimals by whole numbers. So in our first problem, we have a divisor of 8/100ths, and it is being divided into a dividend of 64. So let me walk you through how to do this problem. First, we're going to ask ourselves, is the divisor a whole number? So 8/100ths or 0.08 is not a whole number. So how do we make it a whole number? We make it a whole number by multiplying it by a power of 10. When we do that, we're going to shift the decimal to the right. So how many times should we shift the decimal to the right in 8/100ths? You're right, twice. So let's go ahead and do that. 1, 2. So now I just have 8. Now, in order to keep the problem balanced, whatever I do to the divisor, I must also do to the dividend. Now, I know you're probably asking, where is the decimal in 64? It's always assumed that it's at the end of the number, just like a period at the end of a sentence. So we're going to assume that it's there. How many times did we move the decimal in our divisor? Twice, you're correct. So now let's move the decimal twice in our dividend. So I made 2 little boats. Each empty boat gets a 0. Now the numbers are equal. So what I'm going to take and do now is rewrite the problem. So now we have 8 as our divisor, and our new dividend is 6,400. So now we have enough to do the problem. 8, so the basic steps of division: divide, multiply, subtract, bring the next set of numbers down, and then start the process all over again until we have a full quotient here at the top of our division bar. So 8 goes into 64 8 times. 8 times 8 is 64. So we write 64. Then we're going to subtract it. We get 0. Now, I know you're thinking that the problem is over, but remember, we added 2 more zeros to our dividend as we were trying to make our divisor into a whole number. So we must bring the next 0 down. 8 can't be divided by 0. It would give us 0. So we're going to subtract that 0. And we have this other 0 here that we're going to be bringing on down. Once again, the same issue. 8 divided by 0, 0. Therefore, 8/100ths going into 64 happens 800 times. And that's how you solve a division problem where you're dividing a whole number by a decimal. So our final answer to this problem, the quotient, is going to be 800. I always have my students box their answers. The next problem, it's a little different from the first. We're going to ask ourselves the question, is my divisor a whole number? And in this case, the number 14 is a whole number. So let's look at our dividend, the number that's being split up or divided up. $7.70. And we do have a decimal. If I were to say this number another way, it would be 7 7/10. When your divisor is a whole number and your dividend is a decimal number, you don't need to do anything to your dividend. You don't really need to do anything. You don't need to do anything to your divisor, and you don't need to do anything to your dividend. The only thing that you need to do up here on the top of the division bar where your quotient will be is to align this decimal, bring it on up. Bam. And now treat the problem like you would a normal division problem. We're going to divide, multiply, subtract, bring the subsequent numbers down, and start the process all over again until we've divided everything in our dividend. So let's go ahead and begin. The number 14 goes into, the number 14 cannot go into 7. So that happens 0 times. But now the number 14 can go into 77 5 times. 5 times 14 is 70. So we're going to subtract 70 from 77, and we get 7. But we're not done. Remember, we have to bring these subsequent numbers down. So now I have 70 again. 14 goes into 70 5 times. 5 times 14 is 70. And we're going to subtract, and we're done. So that is how we divide decimals by whole numbers.